Good. Got that lovely poster.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, cool. Welcome to Decide Your Destiny community. Thanks for joining me for an awesome podcast interview. We've got Steven Kuhn sitting on the other side here, all the way from Hungary, Budapest. How you going, mate?
Doing all right, brother. Thanks for having me again. Awesome.
No worries. Yes, it is again. And I'll do an even more improved intro today. So Steven Kuhn, who's stowed away in Hungary, Budapest, although he does have a frequent flight path that includes one of my favorite destinations, Peru, South America, which is just such a soulful haven. Big things for Steven are his family, personal development, impact, transformation, and really making a difference in a lot of people's lives, companies, and businesses. So for Steven, you can catch him actually on YouTube for daily videos. Is it still daily?
Yes, it's daily videos, a daily purge.
Daily purge, I love it. And we'll get into that a little bit more because he landed some inspiration in my heart for some daily stuff. So I'll share that in a bit. But he's also a best-selling author, and he consults companies from various industries around the world. And not to forget, yes, the best-selling author of The Humble Alpha, which I absolutely love. Love that book, mate. And yeah,
thank you.
And we're going to put the link in the show notes so people can actually go and check that book out and like take action instantly, because that's what this is, all about.
Yep.
We can listen to so much positivity, but how we actually implement it in our world. So thank you so much, Steven. Thanks for having me. Thanks for coming on. Firstly, I just wanted to dive into your daily purge. So where did that idea come out to do a daily purge?
Well, honestly, I had brought on a PR or media company, the same media company that does Grant Cardone and Sharon. I mean, all these people. Anyway, and they said, look, you need to do something daily to get presence out there. And I was like, yeah, but just showing up and talking about something every day is, like it's difficult to come up with content every day. And then I decided, well, what do I like to talk about? I like to talk about my experiences with my clients, right? So myself and Lane, my co-author and business partner, we have a paradigm upgrade advisory program where we help leaders pivot from where they are, break through, get balance in body, mind, and business, and generate more revenue, have a stronger mindset, and then get in shape. And I said, well, a lot of the times when I'm talking to these people, I have breakthroughs myself, because only through the dialogue and the articulation of the dialogue do I come up with new insights. And of course, real insights are better than theory. So I just said, well, you know what? I'm just going to purge at the end of the day, purge the one thing that stuck with me from that day. Yeah. And it seems to really, I'm on episode 690.
Yeah.
So it's been a while, 3 years almost, and I don't do weekends. And people really, they get a kick out of it because it's real life. It's applicable immediately, and there's typically something, a result that comes out of it. So it just literally, I show up, no idea what I'm going to talk about. I just put a title in there. Sometimes it has to do with it. Sometimes it doesn't. I just start talking. Who knows where it's going to go?
I love it, mate. That's awesome. And yeah, it's kind of something that has become, part of your continued transformation. Am I right to say that you put it in a veterans group live first, and then you upload it to like YouTube and different places afterwards?
No, I stream simultaneously through what they call StreamYard, and I do 5 groups at the same time in my page.
Yeah.
So YouTube, LinkedIn, 3 pages and 3 groups on my page.
Because you get when I watch them, you get like regulars coming in. They come in through the door and you just say hi, how you going? I love that part of it. Yeah.
And then my kids show up, and they love saying when I say it's all about. They go quality of life.
Yes.
Yeah, they love screaming that. Yeah.
So could you explain, I guess, a little bit more about HIT? Because I know about HIT and the quality of life. And I guess also a little bit more about the Humble Alpha paradigm advice.
Well, the Humble Alpha book, right? So there's a whole story behind this. You talked about Peru in the beginning, and Peru is where we go to work with plant medicine. So we work with ayahuasca, San Pedro, Combo. We just got back from Mexico last week. We worked with Bufo, which was freaking mind-blowing. And while we were in Peru, everything we create comes through plant medicine, funny enough. And because you get direct downloads, when you work with plant medicine, it's about having an intention where you want to go, and you want to facilitate that journey through an opening of your mind, right? So you want to get rid of all the blockages and all the lack of belief and all this, and just move forward. So that's what we do with plant medicine. And so the idea for the name Humble Alpha came through plant medicine. The idea for the book came through plant medicine. The idea for our latest movement called HAVE, Humble Alpha Veteran Empowerment, came through plant medicine. So first of all, the basis of everything we do is set upon the belief that we can achieve anything we want to achieve, but alone, without facilitation from others, from professionals, coaches, trainers, mentors, plant medicine, which are mentors, we wouldn't be as far as we were today. So the book became a book because we were telling our story, and people wanted to know, how did you achieve what you've achieved? Things like working for Mick Jagger, Olivia Newton-John, Andrea Bocelli, working in the parliament, speaking all over the world with no apparent reason to do so and no experience. Right? Yeah. And I could never explain it, like how we did it. And so in order to teach that, we had to articulate it. And that articulation of that became the book. And now the book itself has now become a university curriculum for Forbes School of Business and Technology. So it's in full curriculum for their MBA program. University, well, 2 other universities I can't say right now are picking it up. And then there's other universities looking at it as well. So only through the intention of wanting to change the paradigm of leadership, that was our mission once we came up with Humble Alpha in the book. And the thing about creating a mission like that is being able to let go of the how you're going to do that, right? And the way you let go of the how is by being certain of what you are about. And that's identity, purpose, and that creates certainty. So the whole book is about identity, purpose, and certainty. And there's 5 models that we use in the book that we teach. And the first one is HIT: honesty, integrity, and transparency. Honesty with yourself, why you do, say, and think what you do. Transparency is how you step into the world with that honesty, and it's your ongoing reputation. The byproduct of that is, of course, integrity. Integrity is the basis for every healthy relationship on the planet. If you don't have integrity in your relationship, you have leverage, and one of you is going to walk away unhappy, right? So that allows you to be authentic and dictate your own market value. So this is the basis of the entire Humble Alpha. Then we move on to creating space. And creating space is a method, probably the most powerful method in the book once you get it right. Creating space is simple. You show up wholly and fully for the person in front of you with no preconceived notions or cookie cutter solutions and no expectations. You focus on the only thing that you can control, and that's the intention. And the intention is to add value by solving problems, right? So when I show up wholly and fully, nothing in my mind I want to sell or buy, nothing. I just show up. I'm here for you. Let's see what we can create together. And that creates what they call the mastermind. As you know, 2 minds come together, creates a third entity. Because there's no pushing, pulling, wanting, wishing. I just show up. And then you come up with ideas and solutions. And this can be a group on stage with one person, whatever. You come up with ideas and solutions that you never would have come up with your own. And that, my friend, is also a part of the journey and writing our next books. Come through creating space with every conversation we have. Like the way I'm articulating this right now is different than I would have yesterday. And as time goes by, we hone it. And as time goes by, we actually have a way to teach people how to do this through the constant application of what it is that we teach. So then we move on to life enterprise. Life enterprise is look at your life like you would as a CEO of a business enterprise. You're the CEO of your life enterprise. You answer to the board of directors and the shareholders or the stakeholders. Board of directors is your family, right? And shareholders and stakeholders are your friends and everyone else in your life. And what does a CEO do? They're responsible for the health and profitability of the business. Same thing in your life, health and profitability. And profitability doesn't just mean money. That means profitability in relationships, profitability in everything that you do. Profit doesn't only mean money. And so when you look at your life like that, you're like, okay, how do I treat people well? Well, I elevate them. I always want to leave them in a better place than when I met them, even if I'm just meeting them for a second at the grocery store or spend my life with them. Every minute I meet somebody, I want to leave them in a better place than when I met them. And then if you want to go deeper into that, into these relationships, we call that investing in relational capital. And just like investing in financial capital, you'll always get a return, except with relational capital, it's guaranteed. Financial capital, not so much.
Yeah.
And what you do there is that's how you get into joint ventures, collaborations, and cooperations with other people. And how do you build these out so that it's a win-win for everyone? And so these are all the models in the book. Those 4 things, HIT, creating space, life enterprise, and investing in relational capital, lead to the one thing that everybody on this planet, it's the one unifier on this entire planet that we have, and that's quality of life. Enjoying every moment of every day, no matter what the task.
Yeah.
And so that's the book in whole. That's where we lead. And the Humble Alpha Paradigm Upgrade is exactly that. We take you through that entire process, but applied to your business, to your life, to your health and fitness, and to your mindset. And again, myself as a 25, almost 25 years in business, hundreds of businesses. My biggest business I ran was 3,500 employees, 9 countries, 87 locations. It was listed on the stock market. I worked for the NASDAQ stock market, a company listed on NASDAQ. I worked for a South African PLC, a British PLC, worked for the parliaments, spoke at parliaments, did all kinds of stuff. And that experience allows me to look at your business and say, oh, okay, we can do this, that. And because of the contacts, new distribution partners, new manufacturers, clients, customers, base, tech, whatever it is that you need, we can get you that. Lane, my business partner, is a Special Forces Green Beret. And Special Forces Green Beret is, everyone thinks they're actually like Navy SEALs, but they're not. They can fight. They're teachers. They're high-performance teachers. What they do, they go in with a team of 6, and they go in, or 12 or whatever, and they go in and they teach a small team of local nationals how to then fight and force multiplication, high-performance mindset. How do we win, right? Mm-hmm. So he uses that knowledge in order to get your mind straight. So I do the business, he does the mind. I do the business and mind, he does the mind for business and private. And then we just drive it forward like that with you. And the results are incredible. We do things like hedonic calendaring. We're going to calendar out your whole year when you're going to take time off with yourself and your family, sometimes by yourself, sometimes with your family, for quality of life, right? We're going to look at the structures of your meetings. Are you empowering your people? Do they even know what the mission and vision is? Do you know what the mission and vision is? And do you know their mission and vision in life? And does it align with the company's mission and vision? And how do we create a culture in your business that will drive your business forward effortlessly, remove you from working in the business, and allow you to work on the business and future business? These are all the things that we do, because culture follows action. If you're just grinding all day, everyone else is going to grind. There's no culture being built there, right? Doing more of the same won't get you more. So we really dive deep into these things, and it's a 3-month program. And I got to tell you, we're astonished because we work. It's different. We're not just one coach working with a client. We're 2 and sometimes 3. We also have a health and body coach as well that we use in some cases, who has transformed me as well at 54 years old, being totally ripped. And so we can take business owners who are, fairly successful or successful, and they're like, but there's more. There's got to be more. We have a client right now in the UK who in 3 months has completely changed his life, removed himself from the business, hired a few MDs to run his 3 verticals, sold one of his companies, acquired 2 more. Now we're acquiring a company in the States. And in that time period, he set the goal to reach 100 million pounds of revenue. And it's 100% believable and it's achievable. But he never would have even thought of that if we wouldn't have sat down with him and went through this whole process. And so we take these people and we help them crush it in life and remove themselves so they can collapse time, make more money quicker, be stress-free, have quality of life all the time with family and friends. I mean, he went to Mexico with us last week, 2 weeks ago, to do Bufo. Yeah, it was amazing.
That's incredible. So, yeah, I definitely noticed that in the book, the clarity. And I think through everything that you kind of do in the world, it's that clarity. And a lot of people are looking for that clarity. Like you said, when you talked about scheduling out the quality of lifetime, scheduling out everything, and having, I know what I'm doing, I know why I'm doing it, I know where it's taking me, and just having that clear mindedness is so important, because otherwise
knowing and being certain of it.
Yeah.
People, we talk about a plan, but the plan is for, quality of life and things like that. But of course you plan numbers and revenue and stuff like that, but how you're going to make those isn't even important. It's about the certainty behind it. And I know that sounds oxymoronic, but when I look at a goal, let's say I want to buy a Bentley, which I don't, but let's say I want to buy a Bentley. Do I want to buy a Bentley? I want to save up $250,000 to buy a Bentley, or do I want to live a life of someone who owns a Bentley? Because if I buy a Bentley and I don't have a life of someone who can own a Bentley, I won't be able to afford the insurance, the tire change, the oil change, the services, none of that stuff. So when we look at our goals, we got to be very specific about and very careful about what we're setting. Because if you say, I always want to have enough money, you might always have enough money, but never more than enough. I mean, our words are very powerful in our minds. That's that internal dialogue can drive us crazy or it can drive us to the moon.
Yeah, get creative with the canvas of your vision.
Yeah, 100%. There we go. I like that.
So another thing I took away from I think our first podcast was your energy. I remember you talking about things like how you get up in the morning, you look in the mirror, you sing to your favorite song, you get pumped, you get yourself amped. And I just think it's such a unique way of living. And I wanted to kind of work out all these things that you've done in your life. Where does that source come from? I think there was a big transition point. And I watched in a TED interview when you're talking about, I guess, like a real low point, on the side of the highway, cop that, that story, and a real low point in your life. And obviously that a lot of that would have been dealt with transitioning from being in the army and coming into being a civilized, person. So a lot of that hurt, was that re-guided into like some sort of, coal underneath your bum to get you going? Was that, that pain kind of remolded into energy? Where does it come from for you to get up every morning and just, I'm going to crush it. I'm going to crush it every single morning?
Well, I got to tell you, I do get up every morning, and eventually I'm going to crush it. But I get up every morning, and sometimes it's, I'm going to be honest. Sometimes I'm like, why am I even here? Like, I fall back into this depression, and it's like, I've been diagnosed as chronic depression, PTSD from the war, from Iraq, things like that. I don't let that define me. It's not my identity. That's for damn sure. But it's there. I have to acknowledge it. I have to acknowledge it. And for me, it's a power. Like, okay, the power that I have to acknowledge that I have that issue, and then I can work through it in a moment's notice, in a couple of hours, sometimes shorter, is a massive power for me. Because I think, wait a second, if I can deal with that, nothing can stand it. Nothing can be harder than that. Nothing's harder than that. I tried to commit suicide. I've had, battles with homelessness and things like that in back in the day, 2008. Lost everything twice, moved countries like 7 times, and I'm always looking for a place to fit in until I realized, screw fitting in. I don't need to fit in. Fit in for who or for what or why, right? Yeah. I'm me, and I'll tell you, I'm pretty cool. Like, I like me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Exactly. I truly like me. I'm to a point in my life where I have a wife that I could never have imagined that I could have landed, if you will, and it just gets better every day. After 13 years, I look at her and go, holy shit, man, how did this happen? She's amazing. Like, every day, man. And my kids are there. I live in a small village in Hungary, 2,000 people, right outside of Budapest, close enough to the city to get there, but far enough not to be bothered. Yeah. And working with people like Lane and Jesse T and Ross and all these people that we work with that are just aligned at a frequency that we're at, where we know that all of this stuff, like in the world today, is all distractions from the inside of who we really are. And when you work with people like that, you're just motivated all the time. Like, you want to live up to your own potential, because you know that whatever you think it is, it's further than that. It's more than that. It's bigger than that. And when I have people like Lane, like Jesse, like Ross, and a few others who I can bounce any crazy idea off of, any crazy dream, thought, experience, and they'll take it seriously and actually analyze it, and we'll bounce it back and forth. Because again, we've learned very, very, very clearly that articulation is the key to understanding. And so we'll discuss things 3, 4, 5, 6 times until it's articulated to the point where, okay, now we can teach this, we can show this, and we've actually done it. So it's all applied knowledge and zero theory.
Yeah. How along that road and with the people, because obviously your environment is so important, into the quality of your life. And I love how you've got that position just out of the city, far enough not to be bothered, and still close enough that I want to go in and get some city entertainment. But also, I think really it's that soul connection to people. Those people that are showing up, like you said, they're not being distracted by the material things. They're not being distracted by this side versus that side, sort of, or fear porn or anything that's in the world. They're showing up for their purpose, and how am I going to actually impact more lives, deliver my purpose, and be me forward in the world. To get those sorts of people in your life, was being vulnerable a really important part of it?
Yeah. I mean, I wrote an article for entrepreneur.com called How I Made My Vulnerability My Superpower. And
Yeah.
I just remember that when I would sit in boardrooms or presentations or whatever, everyone's there, PowerPoint presentations and, all this stuff, professional. And I was like, you know what? That's not me. That's not who I am. My vulnerability is there was plenty of them, believe me. But one of the ones I had was, the shame of the PTSD, the shame of the war, friends that I lost, survivor's guilt, all these kind of things, which made me feel like an imposter in the real world, right? So I use that as my power in these boardrooms to not be somebody else and not be an imposter.
Yeah.
And I've sat there and said, look, guys, love the presentations, amazing PowerPoint presentations, but this is how I'm going to tell you about it. So if there's like 3 pitches, I'm a third pitch. This is what we're going to do. I'm going to take you on a journey. I'm going to tell you a story. And I'm going to tell you the lesson from that story. And then I'm going to tell you how we're going to move forward. Yeah. And people look at me like, who's this dude? Yeah. But I got to tell you, I always won.
Yeah,
always.
Exactly.
Yeah, because it was authentic. It was real. It was authentic. It was real. It was action-based, tangible results. Boom.
Yes. Yeah. And connecting to that emotion. I mean, at the end of the day, there's something so much deeper to us. We might show up with all this facade and this physical sort of, showmanship, but down below there's a heart and there's a soul that we're screaming to come out, screaming to be touched, screaming to.
There's an identity. There's an identity. Like in the book, the first section is finding your identity, and you have a sentence that you write, but you come down to a 2-word moniker, right? And my 2-word moniker is powerful connector. And you're probably thinking like, oh, wow, that's very ingenious. But it's not about being genius. It's about knowing what your power is. My powerful connector, first it was enthusiastic connector. And I was like, nah, because when I connect people, it isn't just me connecting and walking away. It's me ensuring that both people are going to do a win-win for each other so that they're going to help them, I'm going to help them. And then I help facilitate that relationship. I stay involved and I keep it rolling and try to build it up. And so I inject power into those relationships. And once I realized that, once I actually wrote it down and articulated it, every call, every meeting that I have, it always ends up that way.
Yeah.
Right. It always ends up that way where I'm connecting somebody with somebody. I mean, I was on a call yesterday, introduced her to 3 people. I was on a call the day before that, introduced her to 3 people. And these are people that are going to change their lives.
Yeah.
And so I'll talk to her, then I'll talk to them. Is it okay? It's okay. Connect you two. This is what I see. This is what I think you could do together. This is how you can benefit each other. And they're like, wow, man, like who does this?
Yeah.
But I make money from that. So I own equity in companies by doing that. I get commissions. I get upfront fees. I get long-term profit share, depending on the level of the relationship and what benefits they can bring the company. And I actually teach that to the clients as well. Like, how do I own equity in 22 companies and have never invested a dime? It's because my knowledge and my connections bring quality to that. I mean, if you have a company and you say, look, I want to manufacture in America and I want to, I need to do that. I'm like, okay, to manufacture in America, you need a manufacturer, you need a distributor, and you need a government contractor if you want to sell to the government. And you were like, yeah, I don't know how to do that. I'll go away and I'll find all 3 of those. I'll check with them. This is the product. Can you do it? Will you do it? Would you want to do it? I'll get the costs involved. And then I'll come back and say, look, here's your 3 solutions to your 3 challenges. You want to work? I'm like, oh my God. Yes, of course. So I'll go, okay, upfront fee for the introductions, a retainer for 4 months to set up the deals and escort you, 10% equity in the company, and then commissions 5% for 3 years for all of the deals that come through the people that I introduced. And they're like, well, it looks like you're going to make me like $5 million, so hell yeah, let's do this.
Yeah.
And there you go. And all I do is a 3 to 4 month period of coordinating the 2 together. Introduce them, coordinate, I'm done. So 4 months for all that. So I got immediate money, which is the upfront fees. I got short-term money, which is the retainer. I got mid-term money, which is the commissions, and long-term is the exit with the equity. Boom.
It's that relationship capital that you talk about. So that's something that I took away, and it is being able to put people together, being able to open doors for people is huge because and you look at today's world. A lot of doors, I guess, are opening that weren't open. You look at things kind of, I guess, some YouTube channels that are bigger than news channels. You know, these sorts of doors that have just opened in our modern world. I guess one of the things I want to ask is, maybe there's people that are listening to this and going, God, I'd love to live out of town, you know, in a small town of 2,000 people. How easy do you think it can be done for, you know, transitioning from someone who maybe has a service-based business or has a business that relies on the city, and maybe they want to move out of the city, you know, to some sort of plot of land that's kind of like where you are?
Teach it. You know, teach it. If you're a plumber, if you're a whatever service-based business, start teaching it. You know, I know a guy in the U.S. He has a cement and concrete company, very successful. But he also has 300 contractors that he teaches how to scale and grow their business and how to do, you know, cement and concrete, stuff like that. 300 who pay him $300 a month.
Yeah.
You know, he doesn't need to work anymore.
Yeah.
Right. He can be anywhere in the world to coach those guys.
Yeah.
And so coaching, training, advising, I call it advising, because coaching is someone teaching you something that they don't necessarily know, but they have the structure for it. Mentoring and advising are people who've been there and done that. That's why we're advisors and not coaches, because we've been there and done that. And so when I'm telling you something, or we work through something, it's not theory, it's not guesswork, it's not my MBA, it's nothing. It's real, tangible, applied knowledge.
Yeah, experience. Yeah, 100%. I want to move it more towards, I guess, the you know, future generations, thinking of, because, you know, a lot of the stuff you're dropping is awesome knowledge. And I was at an event recently, at a local Rotary meeting, and there was this charity organization, and they basically help young homeless people. You spoke about homelessness before, and, you know, and she's finding that instead of 1 in 5 people, as the UN says, it's 1 in 4 people that, you know, are dealing with, you know, this, you know, sort of depression, anxiety, you know, after lockdowns and I guess an unstable, changed world. And you, like I said before, the transition to come from where you came from, you know, and be you know, a civilian is a big transition. I guess what sort of, you know, tips would you have for people that maybe they don't have the resilience that is built through, like for me, myself, I've had a traumatic early life, and then I've had a lot of big impact, near-death experiences that have made me, similar to what you're talking about, you know, embracing every single heartbeat, you know, being here, being present, focusing on that presence. What would you give it to someone who maybe hasn't had that early trauma, but is dealing with a lot of change that they can't control, and you know, they're feeling overwhelmed at the moment?
Again, you can't control the outside world. The outside world is a direct interpretation of how you see yourself.
Yep.
So if you see yourself as someone who can't make it, you're going to see the world as a place you can't make it, right? So it's all about that internal journey, knowing that you are the only source of all of your power. No one out there is going to give it to you, nor should they, right?
Yeah.
They'll give you help. They'll give you a foot up or whatever, or give you a hand up or whatever. But no one's going to do it for you, nor should they. And why? Why should they? Right? A lot of people wait for things to happen. You don't wait. You take imperfect action, create as you go. If you have an idea, you go for it immediately. You write an email, you talk to somebody, you call somebody, you write it down, you put it online, you make it real, and you take imperfect action and move forward. A lot of this being stuck comes from fear of not knowing what to do, where to go, how to get there, and having no structure to get there. It doesn't freaking matter. Create certainty in your life. Go, grab a book. I'm serious. Go to Audible or grab it on Amazon or whatever. It's going to change your life forever. But people are stuck all the time. Mostly we're thinking about thoughts about what's happening, right? Mm-hmm. And we're not thinking about what's happening. We're thinking about what's going to happen in the future based on our past experiences, not knowing that we can change that any second of the day. We don't need to base our future on the past. And that's what most people do, automate it. They're in it's like automation mode. Yeah. So when I catch myself going like, God, this is happening again, I'm like, no, what do you mean again? What do you mean, Kuhn? Not again. What do you dictate what's happening? And again, it didn't even happen yet. You know, we think about things all the time and make ourselves crazy about things that didn't even happen yet.
Yeah.
And once you realize that it's your brain that's putting fear into you and making you look at all that. Look, anyone can be scared right now, especially in Australia with all the lockdowns and stuff. But again, you can't control that, right? What can you control? What do you want, not what don't you want? What do you want to do, not what don't you want to do? You know, everything flip it to the positive. And I mean everything. Like if I tell my wife, hey, when you go to the store, don't forget the eggs. I won't say don't forget the eggs. I'll say, please remember the eggs. Like
Yeah.
flip everything, that internal dialogue into positive. Everything's positive. Please remember the eggs, not don't forget the eggs. You know, because the brain is very receptive. Did you know that 95% of our entire results of our life is based upon our subconscious? 95%.
Not surprised.
So, yeah, well, think about it. We're conscious all the time. So what's the subconscious doing? It's programmed from it's programmed from the conscious. If I'm like, this is shit, this is shit, this is shit, this is shit, the subconscious is like, oh, okay. Because the mind doesn't know, the mind doesn't know the difference between reality and what you think reality is.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's scientifically proven it does not know the difference. It will act in accordance with your beliefs.
The subconscious is like that person that does the fulfillment. You know, if you're working in a store and you need orders to be fulfilled, it's like, okay, we need this order, you know, fill in shit. Okay, let me bring that emotion to the forefront. Let me bring that order to you if that's what you're requesting. Yeah, it's really what you ask. I mean, for me, I've had I agree with you 100%. And one of the quotes that I really think of, I can't remember who. It was a philosopher, but it was something we often, you know, suffer so much more in our thought than in what actually ends up happening in the reality, in the fear, in the self-sabotage that we take ourselves on a journey through. So, and you know, I guess if I can impart anything, but for me, you know, I was at my cardiologist today, and you know, so much of my life has been surrounded by my heart and my health and surgeries and medications and different sort of things, and healing my heart naturally, and how I did that, and the alkaline diet, and transitioning to be mostly on the natural way and not dependent as much as I can. And every time you go back in, you know, one thing that I found was that anytime there's any incursion, it's not a one-time thing. You know, there's going to be the next thing and the next thing, and then if we cut this, then that's going to, then now we've got this complication, and now you got to take these 5 things to balance out those 10 things. And so managing that, I definitely found it interesting, because there'd be times where I would think that I've got it, and you know, like you said, when you get up some days and you just go, wait a minute, I was pumped yesterday, what's going on? And so I go, all right, I've got my mind game on, my mindset's strong, and I'd go into you know, meeting with the electrosurgeon or whoever, and I'd come out, and I'd just be like just be taken out, like just totally the emotional shift, and I found that very interesting. But early on, one thing that I started doing was going, you know, I had the teaching from my older cousin, and he was just someone who embraced every moment, embraced every opportunity, embraced every chance that he got. And I went, hey, I've got this heartbeat. You know, this is the heartbeat that I have to do something with. This is the heartbeat that I can actually grab with both hands and go out and decide something for this moment. You know, the present is all I have. I don't have the future, I don't have the past. I only have the present moment. Yeah. And that is such a liberating thing. It's like one of those, I don't know if it's oxymoron or dichotomy, but one of those things that's kind of like, oh, but you know, you want the future, you want these things, you want this. But the reality of, hey, all you have is this moment is such a freeing, liberating, you know, opportunity for all of us to take on. Yeah. And
And there's nothing wrong with bringing the future into the present.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you want this, well, then you have it now. Have it now. Live as if. We always say live as if, you know, like, you know, one of the things about money is that, you know, most people have a really bad relationship with money. Yeah. And it took me years to be able to spend money without thinking about it. Like, sometimes I don't even look at the price. I'm like, look, I'm almost embarrassed. Because when I want something or I see something, whatever, I'll just pay for it. And then even after I pay for it, I'll walk away. And my wife's like, how much was it? I goes, I don't know. And I'm looking for the receipt. Yeah. You know, because I don't have that relationship to money. Like, oh my God, it's energy, it's flow. Like when I let go, it's a good thing.
Yeah, exactly.
For years, because I was like this, you know, before, and what you resist will persist. So, you know, it's like, you know, there's so many things that our mind could set us free of if we would just let go of that programming that we've received through all the years.
Yeah, and I guess it's coming out of the physical, because all these things are physical, and just living as a soul, living as, like you said, this is a energy transfer. This, you know, introducing these two people together, that's an energy transfer. That's my soul moving and dancing and vibrating at a different frequency. Yeah. It's not the physical makeup of every little detail.
Right.
That's not what I'm focused on. It's the energy transfer. One of the things that I really want to get into is one part of your your book when you were talking about, going into the natural healing and a lot of those toxins that were in your body, and kind of, heal them naturally. And, that experience through the Amazon, and, that company that you worked for that was giving, land back to the people. That really inspirational. But I think what you said was, you just kind of went with it. You weren't checking every single thing, cross-checking, fact-checking every little detail of the whole experience and what was on offer and how it was going to help you. You just felt strongly and you went for it.
Yeah.
I guess one of the things a lot of people are struggling with, or we all struggle with, is those beliefs and those limiting beliefs that kind of get in the way of experience. And we might hear, don't try that because of this, this, and this, or that person's discredited, don't look into that. Or I guess, like you're talking about, things like ayahuasca, or anything can be trashed in the modern day.
Yeah.
And especially if it has a economical impact on the opposite. So I guess what are some things someone could do that, maybe they want to try something, but they've got that sort of cage, like that electric fence that is locking them back into their no, I studied this for 5 years and this tells me to look there. How do they break free of that?
To find out who they really are. You got to find out who you really are. Most people go through the world trying to fulfill a definition of who they are according to their job, their title, their position, what they own, what they have. When you ask somebody, who are you? They'll go, I'm the CEO, or I'm the owner of. Like, no, that's what you do, man. Who are you really? And so a lot of people, most people, I did it for years. I didn't know who I was because I was always trying to find a title or a position, or I had cocktail bars and I had a nightclub, and I'm like, damn, who am I? Do I own cocktail bars? Am I a corporate guy? Am I whatever? And it never dawned on me back in those days, consciously, that it all comes down to me. Who am I really? What makes me happy? What are the things that people ask me to do all the time, or ask me advice for? What are the things that I do that make, should bring joy in others? Like, all these questions that you ask yourself, like, what does that have to do with limiting beliefs? Limiting beliefs come from past experiences or from teachings. And when you know past experiences can change any day, and the teachings are just theory, well, you can change anything you want. You can literally change anything you want, but you got to take action. It isn't like The Secret manifest, sit there and wait for a check to show up. That's not going to happen, right? It's about taking an imperfect action, creating as you go. Like, we didn't know we didn't know we were going to write a book, and when we did, we didn't know how to write it. And then when we were writing it, we still didn't know what was going to happen. We just went with it. Just went with it. The same thing with Olivia Newton-John. When it comes to working with people, for me, it's all about integrity. I know within minutes whether or not this person is at our frequency, and if they're not, I don't care what they offer. We're not working together. And that goes all the way toward the events we have. If you're a speaker at an event, or if you're at one of our workshops, you have a breakout session, whatever, you have to know the Humble Alpha book. If you don't know the Humble Alpha book and you don't understand those principles and agree and live by them, then we can't work together, because we don't just have a business here. We're changing the paradigm of leadership. And like I said, we didn't know how. And how are we doing it? The book. We thought that was amazing. And then the universities came up and we're like, of course, how else would you change a paradigm if you don't start early with the students? We never thought about that. That happened by itself. We could never have planned that. We could have never have planned that, right? And so that's why it's so liberating, just focusing on the intentions that you have and not on the outcome. And fear and angst come from the outcome, the fear of the outcome being different than what you want it to be. So forget about the outcome completely and focus on your intention. Create certainty around that intention and drive your life forward that way.
Yeah, being dedicated to the process and the work, not being, beholden to the outcome. Definitely, right. It's such a big play, and it is that sort of breaking those sort of beliefs systems, because I can say in Australia we've got this tall poppy syndrome, and we kind of talk about if someone's a bit too eager, if someone's a bit too I was going to refrain from the term, but I'll use it. It's too American, too like bold and out there, and then Australians, settle down. We want to go for the underdog. We don't want you to poke your neck up too much over the fence. And it's kind of that. It's funny how that environment, that system, kind of can get a hold of you. And I noticed recently I had a conversation with someone who's well networked in the city that I live in, and we're sitting down, and he was a bit nervous. So that scarcity mindset came into play. He was a bit nervous about this other group that I'd started working with and building, and you know, a bit nervous about that. And he mentioned something. He said, you know, you're a bit like a shotgun. I said, what do you mean? And he said, oh, you know, you're kind of firing in all directions. You got this daily dose, this, you know, personal growth sort of venture you're doing, this book, all this sort of stuff. And then you've got your photography, and then you've got your other things that you're doing, like, you know. And I think what you said was just before was very liberating, is that you're focusing on the intention, what you're trying to do, and the titles, or the, oh, but I don't know what to call you. I don't know how to intro you, or I don't know what your, you know, your makeup is. It falls away, because it's, I'm just doing this, and whatever that can help me deliver this good work that my heart and soul wants to deliver, that's what I guess you can call me that, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, typically, you know, I'll give you perfect experiences. You are your brand, right? In such a situation where you're not in a career field, like you're an entrepreneur, like you are your brand. So I was in the pool in Tulum, Texas, Tulum, Mexico last week or 2 weeks ago. And the guy's like, swims up to me and goes, aren't you Steven Kuhn? I was like, yeah. And I'm looking around to see if Lane or somebody sent him over to mess with me, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah. He goes, yeah, I saw one of your speeches. You wrote that book. I'm like, Humble Alpha. He said, yeah, the Humble Alpha. And that right there told me, wow, you know, he didn't remember the name of the book. The speech was about the book, all the content. What did he remember? He remembered my name, not the book. And that's personal branding right there, right? So they're going to remember you for the impact that you had in their life, not necessarily what the name of that impact was, not necessarily, you know, what you call yourself. They're going to remember you. And that's where that true line of relationship begins and stays, and it gets embedded and grows over time, and then creates massive relationships built upon integrity. And I got to tell you, there's people I can call 24/7, man, you know, 24/7, and they know they can call me 24/7, whether it's business or personal. And so, you know, the whole title thing, I don't care. Like, I used to introduce myself when I was running the corporation. We'd be at a party or an event or whatever, and they'd be like, "Well, what do you do?" I'm like, "I'm I run the cleaning crew." You know, I don't want you to look at me different because I'm the CEO or whatever, you know.
And that happens.
Yeah, of course. And you know, after a while, I'd be like, I work here like everybody else. You know, we work together. And when I would speak about my team, you know, when someone said, "Oh, how do you know so-and-so?" Like, "Oh, we work together." I would never say I was her boss, you know, or I ran the company and she was an employee. We work together. You know, people really, they may not even notice it on the surface, but they really feel it. Like, wow, that's a connection that guy has with me. Like, he includes me in the team as one of his and not an employee, kind of thing, you know.
Yeah.
And so all of these things have to do with that title and position. Make the person feel like they belong. They belong. Doesn't matter what they're doing. You feel like people ask me all the time, but wait, Stephen, if you did all this stuff with the royals and with the celebrities and the rock stars and the parliaments and all this kind of stuff, how come you never made a career out of it? I was like, that is my career. What are you talking about? I mean, that's my career, is to gather as much experience and knowledge as possible so I can help others collapse time and get to where they want to go faster. I didn't know it at the time, but that's why I had all these experiences.
Yeah.
You know, and so for me, it's totally fulfilling to know that I freaking lived the hell out of my life.
Yeah.
You know, and 9 countries, and hung out with rock stars and famous people. Not only hung out with them, but helped them.
Yeah.
Advised them, you know, helped grow their business, do contracts with them, renegotiate. And, you know, it was so fulfilling. And at the time, I'm like, I know this is only a limited time and I'm not going to be here forever. It's not a career. I never looked at anything as a career. I never looked at, okay, now I got it. Now I'm going to be here for 30 years. Not once did I think that. Not once. And so once you get to that point, you don't care about titles and positions and ownership and none of that stuff. Doesn't matter. It's who are you? What kind of impact do you have in the world? Do you know your ability to deploy your zone of genius and what kind of an impact you can have? When you know that, there's nothing can stop you. It doesn't matter who's in front of you. It doesn't matter what title they have. I don't care if it's the freaking president of the United States or, you know, God. It doesn't matter, because you're so solid in who you are and in your abilities through your identity and your purpose that you're unshakable. You own yourself. You own your presence. You own your presence.
Is the destination then the vision of you at your optimal, you at your greatest performance, you at your, you know, living your truest self? That's the destination?
that's an ongoing process because, as you know, the more you learn, the less you know, right? So the more things that you see and experience, the more potential you see. So my thing is I am already living at my highest potential,
Yep.
knowing that that'll be always built upon. And so, the vision moving forward is to change the paradigm of leadership through singular people, whether it's one-on-ones, groups, universities, whatever it is, because we don't know yet how it's going to be. There's a certification program. Looks like we're setting up for the Humble Alpha so that coaches, trainers, and advisors out there can actually have a Humble Alpha certification so that they can teach these principles into their client. I mean, I have clients right now. I had a client, actually, he read the book. He's like, oh man, can I use this for my coaching? I'm like, oh yeah, go ahead. And he landed it just by structuring the way the coaching would happen in this corporate that he made an offer for. He structured it according to the book. Here are the 5 sections. This is what we're going to do. They brought him on, £250,000 contract, right?
Wow.
He was like, "It's the biggest contract I ever got. This is a one-man show, right?" And now that was a year ago, and now they brought him on as a full-time employee online. So he lives on an island in the Caribbean and coaches executive leaders in the UK based 100% on Humble Alpha. Just out of the book, right out of the book. Like he literally reads right out of the book to these guys.
Wow.
And so that's how powerful this is. And we didn't know that was going to happen. So we figured, he's like, can I get a certification? Can I get like a certificate? And now that we're working together with Forbes School of Business and Technology, anyone who takes the course, you can get it right now online, gets a certificate from Forbes Business School. So it's an actual university certificate program. And so it means it's certified to go on it's a college credit. It's certified to go on your resume. It can go on LinkedIn or wherever you want to put it, but it's real. It's not Joey's Kajabi course or, Sally's ClickFunnels course, right? There's nothing wrong with that, but I'm telling you right now, the future of courses is college certified courses. And the reason I know this is because when the dean of the Forbes Business School looked at our course and took the entire 8-hour course, they were like, this is incredible. Do you have anything else like this at all? Tangible, applied, knowledge-based courses. Mm-hmm. And so I ended up referring 35 people who have courses that are now turning into college courses, college certification courses. 35 different companies and people that have content out there that's really good, but it's just Kajabi or ClickFunnels. And now, not only that, it's a passive income because when every student that takes the course for their MBA program or for the bachelor's program, we get a profit share. And so all of this happened through that one vision of changing the paradigm of leadership and knowing that we're going to do it. Like I have no doubt in my mind, the world's going to be different once we get the whole thing spread out, the certification program, the books. We have 6 more books we're going to write. We already know that was given to us in plant medicine. 7 is a divine number, all this kind of stuff. So, it's quite fulfilling. Sometimes we wonder, how
you gonna do it all?
No, we never worry about that. We just wonder how we got here.
Okay, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like sometimes we're like, God dang, man, you look back, all the shit that I went through and did and stupidity, and we still made it here. Man, that's resilience, brother. And then I was in a war. Lane was in Libya and Syria. Jesse was in the army, in the Navy. It's like, and we did stupid. Everyone does stupid stuff, and yet here we are, through the stupidity and the experiences we had, helping others just crush it in life. And that, we sit there. I'm so grateful every day. I swear, it's like I get up. I'm like, man, I'm so honored to be able to live my life. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm so grateful to be able to live my life. As I was talking to my wife this morning, I was like, you are just the most beautiful person. It's like your glow. This is a wife that I've had for 13 years. Yeah. It's like I notice it. I notice my kids. I have conscious moments with my kids. I'm so grateful. And it's not that I'm rich or we're killing it and making millions and millions of dollars. That doesn't matter. It's like we have what we have and we get along with that, and we earn what we earn, and it's okay. It's like it's not focused on that one thing. It's not that. It's about that integration of everything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
body, mind, relationships, and business is what we always say.
Yeah.
It's like yeah, you want to integrate that yourself as your true identity in all those areas of life. Be the same person, own your presence, and enjoy quality of life. And that's what we do. And we live by that, like hardcore.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like when someone says, "Can you give me 1 tip or 3 tips for business?" It's like, oh, there's a lot to that one thing that you're wanting, transformation tip. I mean, when you talked about, seeing your wife still in that same light, I thought of my grandfather and how he, up until his 90s was bringing her breakfast in bed, still doing that, still so grateful, like the happiest man that I ever knew. And I remember asking him one thing when he was, in his 90s, just standing in his room, just looking over the veranda and just asking him questions, just saying, asking about his happiness, like, what's made him so happy, what's made him so joyful, and he just said to me, "Kyle, I haven't worked a day in my life." And I just thought, someone that's 90, someone that, used to get up at 4 a.m. to work on architecture plans for businesses, and then, up till, late doing signing assignments for uni students, working like at both ends, building his house, the first house to be in Cronulla, when there was no sewage line, all these things that, like, the labor, the effort that went into his life. And he said, "I haven't worked a day in my life." And that was just such a, empowering thing, because it was the difference between, he created his destiny, he created what he wanted in his life. He didn't work, it didn't work him. He created it.
Yeah, I could look back and say that's mostly the case for me too. Like, and I think work comes when you get bored and you don't like what you're doing anymore, then it turns into work. And until that time, it's an experience. It's a new impression, all that, I changed jobs as much as I could, and I owned multiple companies at the same time and had a job. When I had those 3 cocktail bars in the nightclub in Berlin, I was a full-time corporate manager running that big corporation, and it was like, this isn't a job. I mean, I would have the corporation parties at my bars. We'd have them over to the club. It was all integrated. Like, everyone knew I had the bars and clubs. Everyone would go there, and they'd love to see me when I was off. Like, one night I'm the boss, and the next day I'm your bartender. It's like, people are like, "This is a trip, man. This is awesome." And I didn't act like the boss as the bartender. I was Steven.
Yeah.
So it was all an experience. It was all fun. It was amazing. And if I look back, I think the only time I really worked was in high school, like, because I hated that. Now I was a dishwasher, then I was a cook, then I worked as a janitor, cleaning up in a factory. Freaking hated that work, but I did it because that's what I thought you had to do. Then I joined the military, and I realized that the power is within. And I said, I'm never going to do anything I don't want to do again. So I didn't.
So the military taught you a lot of things. I often look at, it would be amazing to be in the military as a youngster, because of the disciplines I would have learned, because of the lessons that I would, like. I often look at that and go, God, because if you're in the military, you can think that lifestyle can just transition into your own life. And if you can make it mold, you'd be an amazing entrepreneur. You'd be up at 4 a.m., all those sorts of stuff, which I'm doing now, but just the discipline that comes from being in the military. And the fact that, there's a gun at the other side of that. So you actually have to show up. It's not a, "Oh, I don't really feel like it today, I'm not quite sure." It's no, we need you. And for your brothers, for everything, for this cause, we need you to show up. Do you think that a lot of who you are and how you approach the world now came from the military?
I think some of it did. I wouldn't say a lot, because I have a twin brother, didn't go to the military.
Yeah.
But he's the same way. He's a hard charger, drives. He's like at the top of his game. He's one of the directors for Wells Fargo,
Wow.
wealth management. He does like 4 states or something. He's just crushing it. He's not balanced or integrated like I am. He's still hung up on the the titles and all that kind of stuff. But the power's there. I think what the military brought me was more, the structure and discipline. But I think what it brought me more is when you get out of the military, you lose a very clear identity, right? And you lose a very massive purpose, bigger than yourself. And because if we look at the 6 essential human needs, one of the emotional needs, spiritual needs, is contribution. And contribution is doing something bigger than yourself. And as a military guy, you're like, okay, I signed my life away. I'm going to go to war, or I could go to war. And you're like, I'm protecting, the gates of freedom or whatever. Like you have that bigger mission, and your identity is clear. I remember when I got out. So when you're in the military out, you wear your greens, your uniforms, blues, whatever they are.
Yes.
Everyone, if you're in the military, you look at another guy or gal wearing a uniform, and I can tell where they've been, if they went to war, how long they've been in, what units they were in, I could tell a lot about them without saying a word to them, right? So, that's a sergeant first class, or that's the first sergeant. So I had that. I had a Bronze Star, was a combat veteran, those kind of stuff. And I got out of the military, and I was a doorman at the Hard Rock Cafe, right?
Yeah.
And this is like 3 months later or 4 months later, and in Berlin, Germany.
Yeah.
And this like 15-year-old kid comes up and says, "Hey, I want to get in." I'm like, "Sorry, you got to be 21 to get in after 10 o'clock or whatever." He's like, "Oh, loser, get a real job, old man." I was 28. I was 28 years old.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's a guy who says, "Get a real job, loser, old man."
Yeah.
And I'm 28, been to war. In my head, I'm saying, I've been to war. I went through hell. I've been through what I've been through, and here's this punk. And that, my friend, that causes rage. Causes rage. And that's that transition that I'm talking about. So I think being able to take that and turn it into something positive was really what the military gave me through the lack of the purpose after I got out. I think that was probably the most powerful part of it. And if I look at any military transition is a huge business. It has a huge impact on those getting out, because everyone feels the same.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I look at philosophy and stoicism as like great teachers in terms of turning what you have in your life, turning things you have into good, and that transition, and kind of, it's allowing you not just to mentally cope with life, but create magic with that blank canvas, create something from everything that has happened to you, and that is going to continue to happen and challenge you. I think that's, the awesome part of it. But I wanted to ask you, sorry, you go.
No, well, I think, looking at being excited about what's going to happen out of the negative things, like when something negative happens or bad happens, I'm like, oh man, this means something really good's going to happen out of it. Like, it wouldn't be happening bad right now if there wasn't an opportunity or silver lining behind it. So be excited, be excited about what's happening, see the positive in everything.
Yeah. And that mind shift of, so that mindset shift of actually, okay, wow, this huge things that's happened. We've got this, big enemy coming at us. This is my calling. This is my opportunity. This is something that's asking me to be even greater, asking me to step my game up. And it's you're just taking that thing and actually, constructing an incredible, beanpole for you to shoot off, because usually you might go, oh, sabotage mindset, negativity, overwhelm. But if you go, hey, this is my destiny, this is a calling, this is something that's asking more for myself, that I know deep down that I've got in myself because of my previous challenges and I always talk about, look at your previous successes, look at the things that you overcome. Like you said, look at the things you've overcome before, for that strength, for that ability. And I think believing in the soul, believing in the spirit, believing in something beyond the physical is so important, because it's that thing that we can pull strength from.
It's everything. It's everything. I mean, we're all made out of energy. I mean, and people are like, oh, come on, here we go with that guru talk or whatever. As you wish, man. But it's as soon as you realize, the sooner you realize that we have the power within due to that energy and that power. When someone talks to you about business, when someone talks to you about buying your product or whatever, and you're certain, they're not buying your product or your service. They're buying into your certainty. Yes. That's energy. Energy is certainty. When I own who I am and my talents and my ability to deploy, that's an energy that I'm giving off. Like, I know my shit.
Yeah.
I don't have to say I know my shit. They see it.
Yeah.
What else could that be? It's energy, right? So once people realize that you're emitting energy, put your hand, you can measure energy from your body, so just believe it and roll with it, and whatever happens, happens. But it's an incredible thing once you do realize that, man, there's so much out there that we don't know, that we can learn and just try to have fun. And amazing.
Do you think we're moving into a time where that's more accepted, or people are, liberating themselves through curiosity, through maybe the internet, through, watching you speak about ayahuasca, about, someone else speak about something like that? Do you think we're moving into a time where people are getting a bit more curious about that there's more to them and there's more to the
For sure.
physical stuff? Yeah.
There's a shift for sure. There's a vibrational shift. We feel it everywhere. More people are waking up. I mean, I have people calling me almost every day. I have appointments next week. I just need to mention plant medicine one time, and I get 5 or 6 appointments.
Yes.
And this is from people that are like massive, big business owners, middle-sized entrepreneurs. Like people you would never expect. But they're like, look, I'm successful. It seems like everything we do is about money and consumption. And how do we get away from that? How do we, get quality of life? Like how does that actually happen? And
or is there more?
Yeah, well, that's it. That's what they're saying. It's like but they don't because more has a connotation of bigger, better, stronger, right? More. But it's not about more things. It's about more fulfillment, more impact, right? More impact and more fulfillment. That's where we focus on, because that impact and fulfillment you have you can't pay for that.
Yeah, and that's the question. Like when you get up and you're saying, when you're in those moments, like, why am I here? Or you're questioning things. It is that question of where's the depth? There's more. There's so much more to my consciousness. There's so much more to me.
Yeah.
Need that stimulation in that depth. Where can I go and dive deep into the ocean and keep diving?
Yeah.
And keep being on that adventure and journey. And I think that's something that's so important. I found 10 years ago when I went through that health experience, and it was someone else that came into my life. My stepfather flew over from Ireland, and he told me, there were two directions for what I had. I had this big bug attacking this major organ in my body, and I had 33% chance of surviving going into the hospital. So I had this moment, where my stepfather was there, and he said, "This is what you can do if you want to go down this direction. They cut a big chunk out. You're going to have this metal attachment. These are going to be everything that you're going to have to deal with for the rest of your life." 18 at the time. Or you can try this thing called the alkaline diet. And I just was like, I was a rugby boy, played rugby Saturday and Sunday, typical meathead. So all I knew was protein and weights. And so it was a lot to take in, but I trusted in him. And like you said there, the certainty of him, the thing that he said, I'm not going to promise you that this is going to give you the result, but I can promise you that we're going to give it our best shot. And I truly believe that it can work. And so doing that and then healing my heart naturally and going through that whole procedure whilst in hospital, realizing, wow, I'm doing something that is not a part of the establishment, whilst I'm sitting and basking in the center of the establishment, and that whole experience, and then you come out of it and then you communicate to other people and you realize, oh my God, I'm forever changed now. And I just realized it was so hard to connect to other people that, like you said, are awake or are thinking differently or are looking for something more than what they've been dictated or directed to through the school system and through their entire life. So now, though, I definitely am finding I'm starting to speak about things, and then so many people, like you said, you speak about ayahuasca, you get 5 people, you get people coming up to you. So I think there is a shift, a frequency shift, an energetic shift.
And people's antennas are up, their antennas are up, and we attract people at our frequency. The higher frequency you have, the higher frequency you attract, and vice versa. And so people are out there and they're feeling it out. They're feeling out of space, and they're looking for that spark in someone that can show them that, oh man, it's not, there's something more, like you say, more fulfillment, more impact, more joy, more love. It's like what's an emotion and what's a state of being? When someone says to me, I love being joyful. Well, okay, that's an emotion at that time as it comes and goes. Why don't you make it a state of your being? Just start working on that. There's ways to do that and become the antithesis of joy and not a reaction of joy, and change and have what we call radiant value in your life around you by creating that joy for everyone around you as the embodiment of joy. And it's just, and I figured that out, or I came to that conclusion during a journey, right? During a journey. And because I'm going to tell you, we were there, myself, Lane and Ross and Jesse, and I saw us three, and we were feeling joy, but it was in slow motion. And the feeling was in slow motion, and I'm thinking like, 1 second, baby. And I'm thinking like, why is this slow? Why is this slow? And then I'm looking, and I see as our bodies are filling with joy, and becoming joy. And I said, oh, because it's not just you know, an emotion. It's actually a state of being.
Mm.
And I was
It's an
like,
embodiment.
whoa. And so this is what plant medicine does for you. This is like 7 days after we had to plant medicine. So when we did Bufo last week, every day since then, I've had visions and epiphanies, and it's just constant alignment, constant alignment, constant alignment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. I want to ask you one more question, but yeah, that embodiment is something, yeah, like I said, it's a different thing. So you're not looking for that happiness or that dopamine hit or that chemical,
Right.
you know, justification. You're actually, or that chemical shift, like, oh, I'm sad. Let me chuck on Netflix. Let me get some chocolate. Let me, you know, do something. So that different embodiment, I found it recently. Someone was saying, you know, I'm calm, and a lot of people are saying you're so calm, and that calmness, you realize that you're embodying that, and it's actually, it's like an antenna or a tentacle that's going out to other people. And I was shooting an engagement, and they were like, oh, your calmness, like it really made us all feel so calm. And oh, okay, that's something naturally that I've embodied that maybe I haven't consciously thought about, but naturally with my heart and thinking about being conscious of the heart, realizing I've got to be calm for the rest of my life, try and manage my emotional state. Naturally, I evolved into that direction. And so, you know, the power's there for everyone listening.
Yeah, for sure. I love it. I love it. That's great. That's a great, and it shows you the power of the will.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Not the willpower, but the power of the will. You know, it's
yeah. Mate, I could talk to you forever, but I just wanted to ask you one last question before I let you go and spend some quality family time. I just wanted to ask you, what does deciding your destiny mean to you?
You know, deciding your destiny. I mean, what is it? It's today it's this, and tomorrow it's that. You know, I think destiny for us, for me right now, is changing the paradigm of leadership. That's like the big one, as far as professional goes. And I think that, you know, what it means to decide my destiny is to pass on the highest frequency of learning and experience to my children, so that they can have that ripple effect going forward, and that they come out to be even more amazing human beings than I could ever have been, and that they do the same for theirs.
Amazing. So pretty much changing the world for the better.
Yeah. And you know what? People are like, oh, that's ridiculous. But look, man, the only way to have impact on this world, and I don't care what anybody says, I don't, because for me, if you're going out and you're preaching to everybody that you need to global warming and whatever, right? If you're at home and I ask you, hey, do you recycle? And you're like, well, no, they don't make us recycle. Well, then don't preach to me about global warming. Get your shit straight in your world first. The only place we have true impact is in our world, in our direct world. You want to make a change in your company and you're not the boss, change your position through quality work, through, you know, better results, through ingenuity, through lack of, you know, of conflict, and more, you know, creativity. That's how you do it. You want to change global warming? Start in your house. Right?
Exactly.
Right? Start in your neighborhood. And the same thing goes with changing the world, increasing the frequency, raising the vibrations, making it a better place. If your world isn't a better place, how the hell do you think the big world's going to be a better place?
Exactly.
Right? So it makes your job very simple. Don't worry about the rest of the world. Deal with your world. Make it as you wish it to be. Elevate it. Make it amazing. And then let it radiate from there, because every single person who's in your world will create that's radiant value that they're going to pass along what you're giving them. That's how you change the world. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah? Exactly.
I'm very passionate about that. I'm very passionate about that, because all these movements and all this crap and donate here and donate there, for what? Right?
Yeah.
If I'm still, you know, it's like someone says, save the planet. Do you turn the water off between soaping up and showering off? No? Well, then you're wasting water. You know, it's like, you know what I mean? Like, how far do you want to go? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Exactly. No, I agree 100%. It's that responsibility that you're going to take on and actually get your shit together before you go telling everyone else to get their shit together. And you see it in all, and obviously because you're helping people with leadership, you see it in all sorts of people that have got to leadership roles who are preaching to tell people what to do, but aren't doing the same thing. And you see it in so many hypocritical situations in all sorts of professions in the world. So take care of your stuff first. Yeah,
exactly. Direct line of impact.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, man, it's been awesome. I love it. I always love chatting with you, Stephen. I really appreciate what you're doing. And I do believe, and it might be cringy to say, but it's true. I believe you're impacting the world, changing the world for the better. And that's what we need. We need every single soul out there to actually make more impact in their circle, and that's just going to ripple out. So,
and it's the collective consciousness. When we, as a collective, believe that, it will happen. See, period.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Like just as an example, the 2-minute mile. No one ever did it for years, and then in the 50s or 40s, someone did it, and then within 10 years, like 1 million people did it. Why? Because suddenly the collective consciousness is like, hey, wait a second, that's possible? Okay, I guess I can do that. That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's collective consciousness. And once we get to that level where enough of us are like, yeah, like we can change the world for the better. Why not?
Yeah.
And then you start taking imperfect action every single day, creating as you go.
Yeah, we can solve these problems. Look, because everyone says, oh, the system, the structure is not set up. But we can solve these problems. We can change the structures. We can change the systems. We can do that. So, yeah, awesome. Love it. Guys, if you want to check out Steven Kuhn, it's stevenkuhn.com, correct?
Steven-Kuhn.com, Steven-Kuhn.com, yeah.
And the book, The Humble Alpha, I've listened to it twice. Going to listen to it a third time, 100%. I really, really think that's an amazing book that you've got there, and actually starting to implement the as like a course, as a course. So check that out, guys. Really, really suggest it, and check out the Daily Purge. And actually, to be fair, I want to say thank you, because you inspired me to do the Sally Destiny Daily Dose. So.
Wow.
So you told me towards the start of this year, 2021, you said, "Oh man, you should create a daily video," and I was like, "Oh, okay, I never thought of that." And then now I've kept it going. So thanks.
Awesome, man. It's all about that consistency, man. People told me yesterday too. The guys like I had left the tribe, the vetpreneur tribe, the veteran tribe, and but I saw you never stopped. Like you never stopped. It's been like 3 years now. You've never stopped. So I came back.
Wow. Yeah. 100%. Thanks so much. Appreciate it. And guys, as always, remember, decide your destiny.
There you go. Love it.
Okay, awesome.